Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here on a beautiful Monday morning, November 29th, 2021. If technology's agreeing with me, I should have my screen shared with you. And there are two resources on the page that we're going to go through. But before we get through that level of detail, our topic today is we are launching a new real estate financing program. Now, in truth, it falls under the access to capital. So this is not something new to take to the market as much as it's a unique use of funds, right? People could borrow money for working capital, they could borrow money for equipment, or they could borrow money for real estate. We just signed an agreement with a bank. So this is a federally chartered bank that we have an exclusive agreement with that's running this financing program. It's a really big deal, and it's a big deal for a couple of reasons. These are typically larger transactions. So if you're looking to earn more per client, having a niche in the real estate market is going to help you get there, because these are big ticket items and therefore big ticket transactions. Therefore, you're earning more per client. Secondly, if some of you are kind of struggling to find your niche, this may very well be it. And as we go through this conversation over the next few minutes this morning, I think the light bulbs will go off. So on the left-hand side is a new landing page, myrealestatemoney.com. And it is available for you to submit clients on if you would like, and you'll see that there's a submission form here. Better yet, Scott Stroud, our Chief Marketing Officer, will actually develop a branded version, branded to you, to your entity, to your organization. So it is what we call a white label landing page. So two options. It just contains the basic information of what we're going to be going through today about how the real estate financing program works. But if you just want to start referring in clients, you can do that here using the form. Better yet, you can work with Scott, create a unique landing page that feeds into you. Keep in mind, though, the ultimate process is still the same. We need to get the client under agreement. We need to build a loan package, and then we go to funding. We'll get them their first tranche of financing so they don't have to pay for the loan package out of pocket, of course. So on the left-hand side, again, myrealestatemoney.com, the landing page that we're using, and then you can submit clients here if you would like. You can let us know if you're interested yourself, of course, but ultimately, I think the best thing is to create your own version of this. And frankly, you could do it yourself, or Scott's available to do it. If Scott does it for you, then you get some other perks, and that I'm going to go ahead and make this other page larger. So I think it's really valuable to have a simple one-page document that tells the story. Frankly, this is 2 pages. This is set up as a PowerPoint with an intro, but this has the details that I was referencing. I can make it larger. So we've gone through and created a 3-minute YouTube video that walks through this. If you decide to work with Scott to set up a landing page, what will be included is you'll get a 3-minute video that is branded to you. And then, of course, this document would be edited to drive people to your landing page, not to ours. So any of you that have worked in the automobile industry, my family sold automobiles when I was younger. What you often will see if you go in and purchase a vehicle, if you went in today to the Mercedes or BMW dealership, you select the S series or the G series that you like, you go into the finance office, the finance F&I manager, they call them. Usually there's going to be they call it a menu, and it's going to look kind of like this. So it's proven in sales that if you have a one-pager that describes the value proposition, it makes it a lot easier because you can use it for talking points, and the client, the prospect, the customer can see it as well as hear it. So that's what we've created here. This is the generic one, if you will. But again, if you decide to work with Scott to get a landing page set up for this, then not only will we create your own 3-minute YouTube, but of course, this will be edited with your information on it. So let's dig into what we've created, what we're taking to the marketplace. Because again, this is a big deal. If you think about the most successful realtor in your community, how many transactions that they're creating, whether it be residential or commercial, there's absolutely no reason that you couldn't be bigger than they are and more profitable than they are. And that's to a certain extent our goal. We want to become a massive player in the real estate financing space. Now, we're not the lender. The world doesn't need another lender, but we have a unique program, and that's what we're going to go through here. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to submit it in the Q&A. It's kind of like a chat box of Zoom. So we call it myrealestatemoney.com. And again, if you're going to white label it, you can change that marketing up as you'd like. But let's talk about some of the high level benefits of this approach. And this is very different than what's typically available in the marketplace. So this isn't just a Me Too offering. So we can help our clients get 100% financing. That's very unusual, right? Normally it's 80, 90, sometimes even 95% financing. But what we're going to do is stack 2 tranches and be able to get 100% financing. That's a big deal. The approach that we have and the bank that we've set up this relationship with is allowing for flexible underwriting. And what that really is meant to suggest is that we can help get people get approved that probably wouldn't elsewhere, because we're aggressive at this, obviously ethical and legal and moral, but we have an aggressive underwriting approach that is going to be able to allow people that normally wouldn't be able to buy a home or buy a commercial property to get approved. These are fully amortized loans. Here's a big one on the 4th bullet. In some cases, we can literally waive the appraisal. Like, we bought a commercial building through this program ourselves. I'm sitting in it right now. And so normally what happens is you need to get an appraisal because the lender wants to make sure that the property is worth what you're paying for it. Again, through this lender, through this bank, we can get a waiver on that. For instance, when we bought this building, we closed on it this past summer, we did not have to have an appraisal. The interest rates start at a low 5%. There are no prepayment penalties. It can be set up as interest only, which of course lowers the payments. Unrestricted closing process. Credit really isn't much of a barrier because here these loans are collateralized, right? They're fully collateralized with the real estate property. Therefore, credit isn't a barrier. And in fact, the bank has not set a minimum credit score because the building, the property, whether it be a home or an apartment complex or a commercial building, is the collateral. So there's less concern over the prior payment history of the borrower because the real estate is recoverable. As you know, and this is another big one, maybe this should have been bolded or had asterisk around it. Through the Access to Capital program, we guarantee funding for clients to go through the program. So it's not like, well, I wonder if this will work or not. It absolutely will. As long as you come in, follow the process, we guarantee funding. We have a lucrative referral program. So let's get over onto the right-hand side. And again, think of this from the eyes of your prospective client, right? Your customer. That's what this is designed for. And as I mentioned, we'll create a 3-minute YouTube video for you that tells your story and drives them towards you. All right, so we've got 3 bullets on the right-hand side here. First is, are you looking for money for a real estate project? Get your real estate money for nearly any residential or commercial property with 100% financing available. So restating the proposition, and then it just gives a little bit of our background, which you've seen before. Let's get into the loan types. I'm going to make this even larger because this is a really big deal. So there's two categories, aren't there? There's residential properties and commercial. Let's dig into each of these. So residential properties, we are not a private mortgage lender, or are we licensed to do that? So this is not where Betty and Sue would go to get a mortgage to buy a personal residence. However, if that same couple said, you know what, I'd like my business to buy that residential property, it's going to be in the business's name. Now you and I can help them. So just keep in mind, we're not realtors, we're not mortgage loan officers. That's not the space we're in. So theoretically, if it's going to be an owner-occupied residential property, it would need to go through traditional mortgage channels. But what you see is that people, couples, families can buy that property under a business's name. Now everything's tax deductible. And frankly, instead of renting it out or leasing it out to someone else, they rent it to themselves, even if there's no or nominal rent being paid. So residential properties, both commercial and investment. And then we have commercial properties. And so this can be where you're just wanting to be the investor and or being owner occupied. You all have heard this story. I worked for the SBA up until a couple of years ago. A lot of people get confused. They think, well, I'll just go get an SBA loan. Well, SBA loans are going to not be for residential properties at all. And SBA loans are only going to be for commercial properties in which that at least 51% of the square footage is owner occupied. And you can't game that because they'll come out and audit it and they'll recall the loan if they figure out that you're not truly occupying at least 51%. Now, we can set up SBA loans as well. If the client qualifies and that's best for them, the same bank that we're working with that does direct lending, as we're describing here, we can also do an SBA. It's called a 504. That's not a problem. But this offers much more flexibility, many more uses of funding, and we're going to see some more examples of how you and I can help people get funding for real estate transactions that normally they wouldn't have been able to. The dollar range is from 100,000. Again, this is what the bank has set. So it's not like you and I can say, oh, we'll make an exception to that. No, that's how the bank is set up. No less than 100,000. And that's in today's era of real estate inflation and rising prices, I think we'll be fine to be at that level or above. And it goes up to $75 million. So it's going to be fine for most transactions that you would run into. This bullet here, I really want to pay some attention to. So if you're multitasking, if you'll stop for a moment. So we can provide funding for many hard to finance deals. Rural locations. That's a big deal. There's a lot of lenders that do not want to do funding in non-major metropolitan areas. So this is a big deal. Secondly, for foreign nationals. Third, special purpose properties, even land. And I had a conversation with one of you just this morning. Getting land financing normally requires significant out-of-pocket expense because the lender has more concerns, not so much about foreclosing on the land, but how are they going to turn that around? Same reason that they're restrictive on many rural locations. But we can help with rural and we can help with special purpose property, including land. This can be used for purchase, for refinance, for fix and flip, for construction, for development, for bridge, and for cash out loans in all 50 states. And again, you know as well as I do, but just to restate it, we're not the lender, right? So you and I were technical advisors guiding the person through that process. It's going to fall under our traditional access to capital model. So you're going to sign them up or submit them in on the landing page I just showed you. Either you sign them up or we'll sign them up. we're going to need to get their first tranche of financing out of the way, because we need to build a loan package. We can't go to the bank and just say, oh, I want $75 million. We've got to be able to tell the story of what we're going to use the money for, how we're going to be able to pay it back. And so that's why the loan package is important. This is a different use of funds than working capital, but it's still the access to capital program. So you're going to make the $2,500 upfront off of that, and then you will determine how many points off the transaction. I'm telling you, I'm not blowing smoke here. You're going to make more than most professionals do in the traditional real estate market, because normally they have a 6% fee, and then they're splitting it between the buyer's agent and the seller's agent, and the brokers are getting part of that. So the actual agent conducting the deal often is only making 1 to 2 points. Well, you get to set the pricing you want. Most of you are going about 10 to 12 points on these transactions. So, you know, I don't want to exaggerate, but let's just say it's a $10 million deal. If you were to make 10% of a $10 million deal, that's a lot of money, but it's under your control. You get to determine what you want your pricing to be. The third bullet here, again, is going to be customized on your sheet. What we're going to do is, again, create a 3-minute YouTube video that gives a description of the initiative, but it's going to be specific to your branding. So instead of this, it would have your link, which Scott will help you create. And then the client needs to complete the simple application, and then we follow up with them. All right, so let's go ahead and dig into the questions that each of you have, because again, this is a really big deal. This is not a new program in the sense of, oh, I've got to do something different. This is a niche with it's a specific use of funds within the access to capital program. But it's, again, as I mentioned earlier, not just a Me Too offering. This is distinctively different than what's available in the marketplace. And so if you're good at marketing at all, you're going to be able to target these individuals, get referrals from realtors and others in the real estate space, and do really well. So what are the things that makes this really different? Well, 100% financing is different. The appraisal waivers is very unique. The fact that credit isn't a barrier is a big deal. And I would say certainly the fact that you can make 10 points or more off these transactions is a big deal. The fact that we're able to do pretty much any type of residential or commercial property. And I just showed you kind of how people can game the system if they just want a residence for themselves. They're tired of renting. I'll tell you what Jose is doing. Jose is buying residential homes, and then he's doing deed for contract sales. And I'm not a real estate attorney, but I'll try to summarize what that means. So Jose gets 100% financing to buy a home. He lists it for sale by owner. He sells it to the person, but the title of the property does not convey until they've made all payments. So it's much easier for him to evict someone if they don't stay current versus the foreclosure process, which is more difficult. And so he's turning a profit right away because he's able to sell the property, charge the buyer a down payment where he didn't have a down payment. He had 100% financing, and then he's collecting more income coming in than is going out. So it's incredible. Joseph asked about the credit scores. There is no minimum credit score. That's what I mentioned earlier, Joseph, because this is asset-based lending, right? Asset-based lending. The asset is the collateral, so there's less emphasis on the creditworthiness of the borrower. Devin's asking how long the mortgage can be. Typically, commercial properties are usually 20 years. And residential are often 30, but the buyer can work with the lender to figure out what meets their needs best, but that's the norm. Devin? So Zon's asking about the first 100% financing. So again, as I disclosed, offering the marketplace 100% financing is different. It's very attractive. And with that, it is stacked. So there's two tranches stacked on top of one another to get to that 100%, but we'll help them get both of those tranches. Thank you, Zon, for that question. Renee's asking the best way to market. Well, I think you need to decide if you want to use your own landing page or use the one that's available. That's up to you. If you use the one that's available, you just got to make sure that you're getting your contact information here. We've created this on-demand YouTube video, and I guess we can play it for a second just to show you that it's here. Well, hello, everyone. I want to spend just so what it is it takes, we walk people through this page here. So the marketing, the storytelling, the message is there. I had one of you call me yesterday on Sunday and wanted to know, well, what's the script? Well, in my opinion, this is the script. Well, I mean, you can have a recorded version on YouTube, but this is what you'd want to be able to convey with the customer. So to market it, Renee, you would decide, do you want to market directly to people in the real estate market? Do you want to get referrals from the real estate industry? That's where your expertise comes in, because frankly, as a distribution partner, that is what you do, is generating the leads. We provide the programming. All right, Lee's asking about how he gets his 10%. Well, Lee, you choose what you want your performance fee to be. In other words, your commission on the deal, and that is built into the transaction. And so you control that as a white label partner, Lee, and you're getting paid just like you normally do off the Access to Capital program. It's just these are bigger transactions. Peggy asked, can we get a copy of the bullet point? So yes, I sent this out. This document here on the right-hand side was sent to everyone when we were encouraging you to attend today. So you all should have this. And of course, we can create a customized version for you if you want to white label it. And I can go ahead and add it over here. It's not on this page now, but I can create a link and add it here as well. But it's been sent to everyone. All right, Ms. Brown's asking about how do they qualify for the interest only. It's not really qualifying, it's just letting the lender know that you want to do interest only instead of principal and interest. That's simple. It's just how the loan is set up. It's not really a qualification as it is just a loan design. Devin asked, will the interest rate be the same on both tranches? Probably not, because we're going to use two different tranches to add up to the 100% as we've discussed. And so those would be through two different lenders, and we probably have different terms. But good question, Devin. Renee asked, do we have the same video without mentioning the domain? Well, we've created this full package. So we've got this landing page here. We've got this resource page here. We have the YouTube all matching together. If you don't want to use this package, which is available for free, obviously, then all you would need to do is get with Scott. Scott can create a landing page that matches your branding. We can get you the YouTube that matches your branding. And then we would get these references removed and instead have your branding on it. So, or you could do it yourself, but Scott can create that. And what Scott will do is he'll create automation and follow-up techniques, because we know that not everyone will sign up right away. So if you're using the landing page model, then there'll be follow-ups that prompt them and encourage them and give them more information. And they would receive those promptings typically by both text and email, that increases conversion considerably. Hopefully that answered your question, Renee. Augustus asked, will this work for multifamily? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what you're describing would be residential properties. Here, absolutely. All right, so let's see. Pauline says, I want to edit my terms and conditions. How do I go by doing this to make available for my prospects? Well, for your terms and conditions, you control that completely, Pauline. So whatever agreement that you're providing your clients as a white label partner, those are the only terms and conditions they see, and that's what they're agreeing to. And we can speak offline if you have questions about it, but that's the beauty of the white label partner models. You're in control, Pauline, and others, of the client terms and client pricing. Renee is right in terms of time frame. So again, this is a use of funds. So instead of getting $250,000 or 100,000 of working capital for marketing and payroll, which we could do in addition to this, this is getting real estate money. So we still need that same 28-day process to get everything packaged, because we can't just, as I mentioned before, we can't just go to the bank and say, all right, I want 75 million, hand it over. They need to see the story. They need to have an understanding of what the money is going to be used for and the ability to pay it back. And so that comes from the loan package. So the time frame is frankly the same. It's 28 days to build out the loan package. All right. Commercial build outs on lease spaces. Yes, that is applicable. David's asking, is this SBA funding? So the terms that I've described here, David, are not compliant with what an SBA 504 loan is. An SBA 504 loan has some different nuances than what I just described. Can we help clients with SBA 504 loans? Absolutely. Is that what we're talking about here? No, it's not. This is going to help a broader range of people than those that would qualify for an SBA 504 loan for real estate. David's asking, will they provide construction funding? Let's make this larger. And absolutely, that was on our sheet, right? Construction, absolutely. And I can tell you, a lot of bankers do not like doing construction loans. So the fact that you and I can take this out to the marketplace is a big deal. Remember, I was sitting down with a banker, and the banker said, I hate construction loans because what happens? Maybe some materials are stolen from the construction site. Now the budget's off. Or maybe the cost of materials or labor has gone up. Now what was borrowed wasn't enough. But this program does cover construction, where a lot of lenders do not want to do construction loans for those reasons and others. Ram asked, is there a replay for those that wasn't available? Yes, and so I showed you where the, go back to myrealestatemoney.com, and so you have the YouTube video in its entirety link right here. Thank you, Ram. Pierre says, wow, and I agree. For those of you that have some background in real estate transactions, not that you have to, this is a really awesome offering that we're going to be able to help a lot of people with. Larry asks, can we get pre-approved? Well, the property is crucial. So I think we have to kind of reset our mind. A lot of us think about getting pre-approvals because it's based upon income and credit. This funding is not based upon income and credit. It's because, remember, there's the 3 C's we talked about. We said if you're going to borrow money, you need to have at least one of the 3 C's: credit, cash flow, collateral. This is collateral-based lending. The collateral speaks for itself. And so the pre-approval is almost inapplicable because the approval is based upon the property. And so if we don't have property, then we can't get an approval. But it's not credit-based. I know that's a little foreign to some of you, but this is not credit-based lending. It's asset-based lending, sometimes called balance sheet-based lending. So it's much easier to access, but it's different than what most people are used to. So I understand the questions, but it's a great deal. I can tell you that when we used the program and bought our commercial property, which I'm sitting in right now, and I've got fine credit, but they didn't even do a credit check. There was no credit check when we closed on this property because it's asset-based lending. So you just got to remember there's 3 C's. And right now we're talking about collateral, and the collateral is the real estate. Great question though, Larry. Peggy asked, did we cover interest rates? And we did. It's right here. Rates start at 5%, Peggy. Appraisals, yeah. So we'll have to look at the deal, get the loan package together. But what I mentioned is that in some cases, there can be an appraisal waiver available. And so we've got to look at the deal and see if it qualifies for that or not. So you don't want to promise everyone that they won't have to have an appraisal, but it is a feature of the program that may apply. But it's like so much of what you and I do. We've got to build this loan package to figure out what we're doing. You know, what type of property are we buying? How expensive is it? What type of income do we expect to generate from that? Because this is not personal mortgages, right? We don't do personal mortgages. Now, could someone buy a personal property under their business name with the intent to rent it and they rent it to themselves? I guess they could, but we're not doing personal mortgages. We're not licensed to do so. All right, Tyrone asks, so what does the customer have to bring to the program to apply? Same as access to capital, Tyrone, and you've enrolled dozens of people, right, this month. They come to you, you sign them up on the access to capital agreement using your white label version of the agreement, and that's how they start the process. This is a different use of funds, but it's still the same process. All right, so David says for this to have interest rates as low as 5%, he says that's excellent. He says he is a commercial mortgage broker and has several deals in the pipeline now. Great, great. Let's get them over, David, and let's close them. All right, let's see here. Renee asks, can you walk us through the steps to contact a prospect who is referred through your site? Well, so again, there's 2 channels of distribution that we offer. We have our affiliate channel and our white label channel. Most of you are white label partners. And so that means that you generate awareness, the client comes in, the prospect comes into you, you close them, and then you submit them into us, and then we implement. If you're an affiliate, then it's real simple. All you need to do is drive them to a landing page, either your own, which Scott can help you create, or you can send them to myrealestatemoney.com, and then just drop their information in here, and we'll take it from there. So if you're going to be a white label partner and process them through that channel, you're speaking with them. And if the question, Renee, is, well, what would you speak with them about? If I were you, I would share with them the YouTube video, which will create one for you that is branded to you, or share with them this resource, which really tells the story. Because the goal is to get them to take the next step, which is to fill out the Adobe enrollment form, or however you're enrolling clients. All right, Warren asks, can this program be competitive enough in alleviating realtors who rely on private funds from real estate investors? Absolutely. And I know I was visiting with a gentleman. He's a small builder. There's lots of small builders out in the marketplace. You know, we've all heard of KB Homes and Toll Brothers and Lennar and these big ones, but there's lots of little home builders. And this is great for them as well, because this can fund, if we enlarge this can fund the purchase of the land that they need to build off of, construction financing, and then they turn around and sell the home and pay it off. All right, so let's see here if we have any other questions that I need to address. Richard asks, client must have a round of funding to qualify. I don't know what that means, Richard, but what they need to do is just go through the normal access to capital process that we've talked about, that we've trained, that's on the white label page at iimfl.org. They come to you, you get them under contract as a white label partner, and you submit them under the white label client submission form on the white label page at iimfl.org. The front end is no different. Now, your story that you might tell obviously is very attractive and maybe different if you're targeting this market. See, normally when we're promoting access to capital at the front end, we're not breaking down, well, how are you going to use that money? Here, we're taking a specific targeted approach. If you're looking for real estate financing, then, hey, we've got an option that you may not be aware of. And then you can go through the highlighted benefits and features and then drive them to your page to get started. And you can use the YouTube video to automate it, or you can use your own voice through individual conversations if you prefer. Let me see if there's any other questions here that we need to cover. Ms. Brown's asking, can she enroll herself? Of course. I mean, just like any of you can enroll in access to capital if you want to, but you don't have to. And if you want to, I mean, anyone that's renting right now should really be thinking about, how can I stop renting and start owning? Well, maybe my credit's not good enough to get a home mortgage. Well, great. Let's use a non-credit based finance program. That's what you and I are talking about, right? This is asset based, or what's called balance sheet based. Credit, it's not based upon credit. It's not based upon income. It's based upon the deal, the project, the real estate that's being purchased. And as we mentioned, we can, in some cases, even waive the appraisal, which makes it even quicker and faster. Tyrone asks, how can we bring this to real estate companies? Will this place us in the image of a funding company? Well, we're not the lender, right? The bank is the lender. The bank has billions of dollars to lend. You and I are the technical advisors. Just like the mortgage loan officer isn't the lender, they're working on behalf of connecting the buyer of the property with the lender. So this is an alternative approach to working in the real estate market, where you don't have to go get licensed as a loan officer or as a realtor. And frankly, you can make more money than those folks do. And we can help more people because we're able to get a lot of people approved that they couldn't. All right, well, there's a few more questions, but I think I covered the highlights. So let's summarize here. So today we launched we announced and launched myrealestatemoney.com. That's the landing page where you can start submitting clients today. It's open and ready for business. There is an on-demand YouTube video that walks people through a 3-minute video of this marketing piece. If you just want to use the package that we have, you're ready to go immediately. There's nothing else you need to do. Start submitting in clients. If you want to brand this to yourself, then you can work with Scott, our Chief Marketing Officer. He can set up a landing page similar to this, or make the changes that you want that would be branded to you. We'll create a YouTube video that's branded to you. We'll create this marketing piece branded to you, so it won't reference our landing page here and here. It'll drive people to your landing page. Make sense? So again, this is a different use of funds. The clients are still enrolling it into access to capital. You're still making the $2,500 on the front end. You're still controlling the performance fee, which is normally 10 to 12%. You're controlling all of that. This is just a different use of funds. This is a unique approach, an innovative approach to help people buy residential or commercial properties from as little as 100,000 up to 75 million, including hard to finance deals whereby credit and income is not a prerequisite. It's asset-based lending. The property is the asset, and we can do 100% finance. All right, well, I'm sure there'll be more questions. We'll be back tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, to talk more about this. But the key is take action. If you want your own landing page, reach out to Scott at smartmoneyalliance.org. He'll get you one set up. If you don't want your own landing page, ours is open for business. Go ahead and just start pumping clients in here. We're ready to go. Thanks so much, and we'll see you back tomorrow morning. Good to visit with you. Bye-bye.